And of course, this is a proposal or a thought to go ahead and close it for the winter season.
Correct.
And what have you been hearing, and where are we in this process?
Well, you know, I mean, I think I've heard a little bit of, well, I shouldn't say a little bit. I've heard primarily that the support not to seasonally close the Fort Caspar, and matter of fact, I was just at City Brew yesterday for a meeting, and was approached by a couple people that had asked me and said, "Hey, what is the plan? What's going to happen?" And so part of that is that the proposal from the city staff here in the next couple weeks, they'll come to the city to say, okay, this is what we are proposing for seasonal closure. And so the city council is going to have to debate that to find out if that's something that's going to, how that'll affect our budget, and how it will affect the community. Anybody that has an opinion on that, please contact your council member, me, and the city staff. Carter Napier, our city manager, be more than willing to answer questions as well. But contact us, and we'll be able to answer some of your questions.
Okay, very good. Something it was mentioned on our Facebook page, but something you and I were talking about as well, is a kind of a follow-up to the passage of the LGBT resolution. Sure. That was passed last week. What sort of, I don't want to say fallout, but although that might be part of it, but what have you been hearing since that passed? You
know, overwhelmingly, Susan, I've heard primarily positive feedback from people. Obviously, there are people that were disappointed in the passage of that resolution. However, primarily I've received positive feedback, which has been great for the community in that sense. And so most people that have contacted me or reached out to me have thanked me personally and thanked the council for the passage of that resolution. And it certainly was a controversial and very difficult decision, I think, on some levels. But on the same level, it seemed like a common sense decision for the council to pass that or to pass that resolution.
Well, and I was just going to say, some had those questions about why it was a resolution and not an ordinance.
Yeah, you know, I think that there was no appetite for the council to pass an ordinance at this time, as there wasn't on the state level to pass a bill and a law for that. But I think the resolution certainly just as a statement for the council or the city to say that, you know, we won't accept discrimination against LGBT community, people in the community. Just a statement basically is what the resolution implied. I don't feel like some of the people that were nervous about that it's a slippery slope heading down this road. I don't believe that that's where it's heading. But certainly a simple statement to say we certainly do not discriminate against anybody in the LGBT community was a powerful statement for our community.
Okay, very good.
New police chief in the last couple months anyway. Certainly that's on his agenda to start looking into that. It's obviously very expensive. We're going into our budget process here in the next month. That will be a discussion that I know we'll have as a council. So it's on the docket, and I know that's a part of our chief's agenda. I don't want to speak for him, but I know that's something that he would like to see, I believe. So we'll be discussing that as a council in the next month in our budget discussions.
Okay, very good. And also Cindy, Cindy, I hope I'm not massacring your last name, Cindy Pater said, drugs seem to be out of control in our town. What are your plans to deal with them? And children seem to be the ones suffering the most. Something needs to be done to protect these kids.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we have to understand too the purview of what the city council tries to do in working in creating an environment and a community that's safe for kids and for everybody. So with that being said, that's a question that we need to continue to work closely with our police department, working closely with how we just not incarcerate, but we're also looking at how we work with helping the people that are in addiction and having issues with that to succeed. And so working with places like CWCC and other agencies, nonprofits in the community to create a healthy community.
Okay, very good. And there's another one that you and I talked about. They released the video of the shooting incident that happened.
You know, I think right now, since it's still under investigation and they're still working, especially with DCI
yes.
And so forth, no comment yet, I believe, has come out of there to say that, you know, this is what's going to happen. I don't know. I can't speak for the chief, or I can't speak for DCI, obviously, whether or not they're going to look at doing that. If and so they want to, that'll obviously be up to the chief and DCI to look at that to say, okay, let's produce this for the community. I would say on my behalf, and I would say that transparency is important, and I would encourage that we have all avenues, we go down all avenues for that transparency for the community to have that, so all questions are answered in this nature.
It's really not in the city's purview at this point. It is sitting with DCI, those sorts of decisions, and the whole investigation.
Right, so as it's under investigation, I don't want to make any comments to that nature, but I do want to make sure that we know that everything is done with a transparent, respectful way, especially towards the family too. And so we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can.
Okay.